almost ready. Okay, we're all set. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, hi, my name is Rick Leaf. I'm chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. This is the August 21st, 2025 meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. So at this point, Laurie, I don't need to read any more text anymore. That went by the wayside last year, right? Oh, Laurie.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, take attendance and then we'll get started here. John Ray.
Present.
Amy Paretsky. Didn't see her. Millie Milton. You there, Millie? I see your name.
She was there.
You on mute, Millie?
Better. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry. Millie, are you there? Your name is on the participant list.
She was here, now she's gone.
I see her. She just doesn't have her photo, but her picture, but she's on the.
You see her, Leslie? I don't
Yeah.
see anything for her right now.
You can probably
Her
only see.
video is off, but her audio is unmuted, so she should be able to speak if she's present.
Okay. Millie, are you present?
Okay. I gotta change my view.
We'll
There
come
we go.
back to Millie. Leslie Harrison.
Here.
Fran Baxter, and I think Fran's not going to be here. Gene Kennedy.
Present.
Gene Cahill.
Here.
Rick Leaf is here. John Campbell's going to be late. Jen Tolman. And Judy Boyle.
Present.
Okay, so I think with the ones who said present, we do have a quorum. And Millie, can you hear us? No, she's not responding. I see her on my participant list.
I imagine she stepped away from a computer.
Okay, well, why don't we get started? We have a new member of our esteemed committee tonight. John Ray is going to be representing the select board on our committee now, replacing Julianne. So John, welcome very much. We appreciate you having on the board and look forward to your input and participation this year.
Thank you. I feel I'm excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Okay. Basically, after town election every year, each committee reorganizes and reappoints a chair and a vice chair. So we need to do that tonight. We didn't have our prior meeting in July due to lack of a quorum. So the first item on here is the nomination and election of chair of the committee. The floor is now open for nominations. Do we have any nominations for chair of the committee?
Nominate Rick Leaf.
Gee, I was going to say,
I'll second that.
do we have any other nominations for chair of the committee? Hearing none, we can close the nomination process. I think we do need to vote on this, so we'll go around and vote on this. So we're now voting on authorizing myself, Rick Leaf, as chair of the committee. John Ray.
Second. What's the motion? Is it second or seconded? I vote yes.
Okay. Millie, are you with us yet? If not, Gene Kennedy.
Yes.
Gene Cahill.
Aye.
Rick Leaf votes yes. And Judy Boyle.
I vote yes.
Thank you very much. I will try and do my best to uphold this esteemed
yes,
position
too.
for another year, kind of thing.
I vote yes as well. I don't think you
Oh, I'm
asked me.
sorry, did I miss you, Leslie?
Think so.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, next is a nomination of a vice chair. And I'd like to enter Gene Kennedy's name as nomination for vice chair.
Second,
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, it's been moved and seconded for Gene Kennedy to be vice chair of the committee. We'll take a vote on this. Going around again, John Ray,
Aye.
Millie Milton. What's going on with Millie? Leslie Harrison,
aye. Millie turned green this time, so she's talking. We just can't hear her.
okay, we'll finish the vote, then we'll see what's going on with Millie. Gene Kennedy,
Aye.
Gene Cahill,
Aye.
Rick Leaf votes aye, and Judy Boyle.
Aye.
Okay, so we are reorganized for another year. Now I'll move on. Once again, Millie, are you off mute? Can you say you're here with us? I'm not sure what's going on with Millie. It's going to be interesting because Millie's got something to talk about on the agenda tonight. Hopefully, we
Maybe
can
she can call in on her phone if she's on a computer. That's going to be my last resort.
Do you have her phone? I've got her phone number. Do you have her phone number?
I do. No, I don't. I don't think I do. Check.
Before I start, let me just give her a quick call and
I do not.
I've got her number. No, she's not answering. So let's move on. Hopefully, when she'll join us eventually here. Okay, next time on the agenda is an update from Lori on the Blake Pierce Streetscape Improvement Project and status of grant. So go ahead, Lori.
All right. So at the end of June, we had our second community outreach meeting. So unfortunately, it was July 4th vacation week. So the attendance wasn't as good as it had been during the first meeting. We had about 30 people who attended. We did challenge the designer to reduce the scope of the project by about $800,000. So what that meant is that they eliminated the sidewalk along the east side of Blake Street and also a number of the decorative LED streetlights, which were very, very expensive. So we just heard the other day that unfortunately we were not successful in obtaining the MVP grant. So that grant was to pay for the improvements, the bulk of the improvements to Blake Street. So now we have no financing at all for Blake Street. We are still waiting to hear on the Complete Streets grant. So there were two projects that were submitted. One project was for the Pierce Street improvements, and the project that was submitted would pay for pretty much all of the proposed improvements to Pierce Street. The project that was submitted for Blake Street was just for the LED streetlights. So like I said, we're waiting to hear. We should hear at some point this month. Worst comes to worst, we'll hear in September. So I am not all that surprised that we did not receive the MVP grant, because it seems when looking at the projects that they have approved over the years, that they primarily approve projects in environmental justice communities. So those are low income or high minority population neighborhoods. So I was concerned when I was filling out the grant application that Northborough's downtown may not be poor enough to really qualify for that grant. So I did the best I could to make the argument that Northborough deserved this grant, but obviously it was just too competitive, so we were not successful. So we have a couple of backup plans. One option is that we could apply for the park improvement on Blake Street. So as you remember, that there is a pocket park at the corner of Route 20 and Blake Street. And then there's also a municipal parking lot that's associated with that. And the one that I'm talking about is the small municipal parking lot that's on Lake Street itself. Is perpendicular parking spaces. I believe there are 9 parking spaces currently. And there is no drainage associated with those parking spaces. So the parking lot is in really bad shape, and every time it rains, there's a gigantic puddle, which really impairs the ability to use the parking lot effectively. So that is something that I have discussed with the Community Preservation Committee, and they thought that that is a project that would be applicable for recreation, open space and recreation funding from the CPA. So I do intend to apply for the park improvement, if nothing else, at in November. So that would go before town meeting next spring. Another potential source of funding is the Shared Streets and Spaces program. That is a Mass DOT grant. So possibly that might be a good fit. But we'll see. The funding deadline for that is in January. So kind of bad news, but like I said, I don't like to give up so easily, so I would like to apply to those other sources and see where we can go from there. Happy to answer any sort of questions that you.
Thank you for all your hard work on those, and I want to let you know that on our Applefest Street Fair map, that puddle is on the map because we ran into troubles in the past where we assigned someone that area and ended up with it too wet to use. So it's actually made it onto our map.
Does anybody have any questions?
On the CPA money, CPC, can you give me a little bit more? What would you look to? How much you looking to ask for? What are you looking to apply it to? Just trying to get up to speed here.
Yeah, so right now the beta group is working on the 75% design. They did do a cost estimate in June, which said that the improvements that would be associated with the parking lot and the park itself and the drainage improvements would be about $650,000. So that's what I was thinking of applying for. The cost estimate will be refined as the design progresses. So, you know, that's a ballpark figure right now. But definitely by the November 1st deadline, the Beta Group will have the 75% design plans done. So I should be pretty solid with the figure. Of course, then we have to go out to bid. And so, but we don't go out to bid until after we have financing. So when you go out to bid, you may find that the figure is higher than expected or lower. So the real figure is when you go out to bid.
And this is for town-owned property?
Yes, town owned.
So CPC would purchase it with with CPC money from the town?
So that the town already owns this
Okay.
land. So this is a little pocket park
Yeah,
where the digital sign is, the electronic message center that hasn't worked for quite some time. So it's
Yep.
now turned off because it doesn't function. There's a seating wall with the stones that are constantly dislodged.
Yep.
There is the brick paver walkway that is falling apart. So it is a town facility that currently exists that is in poor condition. So this project is a downtown beautification project. So we're trying to entice people to come downtown. We're trying to make the downtown look more attractive. And so that was the whole premise behind the project.
and the thoughts to do it before we deal with 4 West Main Street, and because there's a thought that as part as from a select board perspective, as we think of 4 West Main Street, some of that may be contemplated in that, depending on how that process goes, including maybe the paving. But is that
So this does not include the large municipal parking lot.
Okay.
So this is just the perpendicular parking that's on Blake Street and the park itself.
in the park itself?
So I just have a notification that Millie is entering the waiting room, so she must have had a problem. So that parking lot that you're talking about
Yeah.
is probably needed for 4 West Main Street in order to make it successful. But this is the on-street parking that I'm talking about.
And then, is there any other funding from any other town, like DPW or any other? Is it just CPC that you're looking to get funds from?
So I've already applied for 2 grants. So one grant has been unsuccessful.
Yep.
The other grant is still pending.
Yep.
But that grant, as far as Blake Street is concerned, would just be for the lighting, the pedestrian scale lighting.
Understood.
That's all I applied for. If that grant is successful, then the focus group was talking about altering the scope of work so that it would only cover 5 exterior pedestrian lighting, as well as the reconstruction of the sidewalk on the west side of Blake Street. So there no longer will be a sidewalk on the east side, except for the walkway that'll be affiliated with the park itself.
Judy, I don't think that. I don't want to interrupt Judy, but I just don't think that just answered my question. Were you looking to get any other funding, any other money from the town for DPW, or is you just or we got the grants, we got CPC, and that's the entire scope of the funding?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about when I first started.
Okay.
That we were looking for funding from CPA as well as the Shared Streets and Spaces program.
Okay.
So, so if the Complete Streets grant for Blake Street is unsuccessful, the maximum award that you can get from the Shared Streets and Spaces program is $250,000. So we were talking about applying for that, for the sidewalk and the LED streetlights. So I do not know of any other sources of funding that would pay for the park improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
Judy.
Thanks, Lori. For the Beta Group, are they paid in full? Um, um, I mean, I know you said in the past that they were all set. So do we pay them up front and they just stay with us until their
So
do they have a contract with the duration?
we do
Yeah.
have a contract. So the contract that we have with them is for $197,000. And that money has to be fully expended by December 31st of 26.
Okay.
Otherwise, the ARPA funds just disappear into the ether.
But Judy, I think the idea is we'll complete the design work with Beta Group and then use that as best we can as in fact funding becomes available. There's nothing about the design that's going to be completed that would become obsolete. The cost of the project could change over time, depending on how long it would take to get funding, but the design that Beta is going to complete, could be used at some point in the future. So their participation will end at the time when their design work ends.
Unless typically when we do construction, we hire the design engineer to do construction oversight. So that way, if the contractor has any questions, if they need some variance in the design, then we will have the design engineer on board to assist as well as to explain any particulars about the design and to ensure that the work is compliant with the design.
Is that part of the 197,000? Would that be extra after the 197,000?
So originally, the Board of Selectmen had allocated 250,000. So the balance would go towards construction oversight.
As long as it was done by the end of 26.
Correct.
Okay. So just so I'm clear again, if in fact the Complete Streets grant comes through, we can do the work on the municipal parking lot and the little park down at the intersection of Pierce and Hudson, and we can do the sidewalk along Pierce Street to connect that parking lot with the north end of Blake Street. That's all. That could all be done in the Complete Streets money if we get that, right?
Correct.
And we could also do some street lights on Blake Street with that money.
Correct.
Right. So there's still that part of the project could be done if that comes through. If that doesn't come through, then basically at this point, unless we get some CPA money or another grant, there's no funding to do anything at that point.
That is correct.
Any other questions for Lori about this?
Just a question about, I guess, the committee itself being new to it. As I prepared, I looked at the charter, and I'm just trying to get an understanding of how we operate. So I'm looking at continue to work with boards and committees, departments, and residents on implementation tasks, working with planning board on zoning articles, help to deliver support for proposed actions, provide progress reports to the Board of Selectmen and town meeting, collaborate with other boards and committees, periodically evaluate the plans, see if conditions change. This doesn't feel like that charter. How are we here, I guess?
So we got here because when the committee first formed, the committee decided the most important item that was on the master plan from 2020 that got the most community support, had the most references in different areas, had to do with downtown revitalization. So we proposed to the select board that we hire a consulting firm to do a downtown revitalization plan. Then we discussed, should we create another committee to be in charge of downtown revitalization to work with these consultants, or should the MPIC take the responsibility to get the downtown revitalization plan complete. And it was decided that it didn't make sense to create another committee for downtown revitalization, that because this was integral to what came out of the master plan, the MPIC couldn't be the committee that would oversee the downtown revitalization plan. So that's what we did. When that plan was complete, we made a presentation to the select board about the results of that plan and the key areas of revitalization that were proposed there. And at that point, from the 3 different major areas of the downtown revitalization plan that were proposed, the work north of Route 20 along Blake and Pierce Street seemed to me the most viable to be done, which led to Lori proposing to the select board the funding of a design for work on Blake and Pierce Street.
When was that?
So
What
that
time?
Lori, when did the select board approve that ARPA funding?
I believe that was like January of
Okay.
maybe 2024.
I guess
So then we went out to bid
yeah.
and we selected the Beta Group as the consulting engineer.
Yeah.
And the select board had allocated $250,000 to design the streetscape. And so a focus group was formed, which consists of a number of the members of the MPIC, as well as property owners in the vicinity. And they've been working since last fall. I want to say the first meeting was probably held in maybe September, October timeframe of 2024 on designs for the streetscape improvements.
I guess where I'm with what's not clear to me, that the town voted against it at town meeting in May, and the master plan implementation committee just doesn't follow the charter and has just kind of made its own rules. And this is just not, this is coming in cold. Like, this is what I'm just not clear coming into the committee on the committee's priorities and how it was formed. And then you look at town meeting voting against it. So I'm not really clear, other than completing the study, which I understand.
I guess the only thing was that town meeting voted against providing any additional funding beyond the grants that were being requested.
Yes.
So if in fact grant money became available, it would be possible to do some work towards this improvement on Blake and Pierce Street. So to that extent,
You always welcome grant money, for sure.
right. So the effort is continued, and I agree with you that the basic charter of our committee is to review the master plan and to inform different areas of the town if we think there are parts of the master plan that need to be moved on, to take action to move on them, and then to report back to see if anything has really happened. So our role generally is to sort of be advisory about the plan, but because it was decided not to set up a separate committee in town to work on downtown revitalization, we've sort of become the committee that's been doing that. So that's kind of how we are where we are tonight.
Okay. I mean, it seems unusual, and it seems like kind of working in sheer force with the MPIC and neighbors and friends, but it just seems like it doesn't have enough connectivity to committees and boards, and it seems unusual to be taking this approach.
Right. Well, for example, outside of this, one of our members brought forward a plan that they were under the area of the plan that talked about conservation. The plan recommended the town evaluate what to do about dams in town, problems that could be concerned with dams failing, and how removal of dams could help the overall conservation effort in town. And so last year we sent a letter to the conservation agent asking if he would work with the Conservation Commission to start to evaluate the situation with dams in the town of Northborough. And we have followed up from time to time, and for a number of reasons, there hasn't been a lot of forward progress on that. But
Sure.
all the problem was that would be, we lifted that out of the master plan and put that before the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent, and we follow up from time to time. In a like manner, the master plan recommended that a new housing production plan be created by the planning board to replace the one that was done in 2012. So we sent a letter to the planning board chair recommending that the planning board start a new housing production plan. The planning board responded that with all the articles they had coming forth to town meeting for 2025, there was a lot on their plate, but they would consider in 2026 taking a look at a new housing production plan for the town. So that's kind of on our to-do list to follow up again. So those two items are very much kind of in line with the strict charter.
Okay.
So we've done things besides downtown to do nothing more than advise people, this is what the master plan said, this falls under your responsibility. Please report back to us what you'd like to do about it.
Right. I mean,
We're doing that also.
I admire the work in many ways, but I think Blake Street, the town spoken. Finish the study, get the grant money if you can. All that's really good. But in my perspective, you put it on hold until we know we're doing it for West. I think we're wasting our time to champion Blake Street against the town's wishes, unless we can under anything other than the parameters I just kind of outlined.
All right. I mean, are there any other comment from other people on the committee about that?
Well, I just say that, you know, as a committee, we recognize we're advisory. We don't have a budget. We don't have any regulatory powers. So what we can do is monitor the master plan recommendations and sort of funnel those various recommendations to the boards and commissions that do have the power to act.
Yeah.
And after we completed the downtown study, it became apparent that while these other boards and committees have much more to do than just what we do, we actually went from meeting monthly to meeting every other month.
Sure.
So we sort of downgraded our momentum to sort of match the busy schedules that all the various boards and commissions have. So we're trying to maintain that balance and continue to keep an eye on the recommendations while acknowledging that we're not really the ones that have the decision-making power on these things. And just while I'm speaking, by way of introduction for myself, particularly for the new members, John and Leslie and Judy, most of the members of the MPIC represent a board or commission. I happen to be a citizen representative, and I'm retired now, but I was a city planner for my career. I worked in Newton, I worked in Framingham. In between, I was an environmental planner working for an engineering company in Boston. So that's what brought me to this point as well.
That's great. I like that.
Any other comments or reactions? Well, I think at this point we have another great application.
Both Jen and Jean have their hands raised.
Okay.
I think Millie's trying to talk.
Yeah,
Millie, we
Millie's
can't hear you if you're
Millie's
speaking.
texting me that she can't get her microphone to work, so
Okay.
unless anybody's got a suggestion for Millie, a technical suggestion.
Can she just
Something
call
she
in on
can
her
do.
phone instead
Millie
of a
could
computer?
also call on her phone.
Yeah, she tried that. Oh, she could just call in on her phone altogether. I think she said she's been texting me. So she said, my microphone isn't working. I can hear you, but I'm on a different computer. It doesn't allow microphone. Trying to figure it out. I'm not able to get in by phone, and I can't get my microphone on my computer to work.
Okay.
So unless somebody's got a suggestion that Millie can hear us.
I mean, she
Somebody
can
got-
call my phone and I can just put her on speaker and or have her call you, Rick. I mean, you can do it just literally phone to phone instead of Zoom at all. It's a little awkward, but it's better than nothing.
We had to do that on the youth commission meeting. recently, so it works.
Yeah,
You
it's
get
old
through
school,
it.
but
So if Millie calls me and I put her on her speakerphone and hold it up next to my computer and she talks, you can hear me through the speaker on my phone.
probably, yeah.
All right, Millie, you want to try? I guess you can't answer me, but my phone is ringing.
Okay.
Can she type into the chat box if she can type
Okay,
quickly?
you there? Okay, let me. I'm going to put you on my speakerphone and let's see how this works. Hang on. Oh, brother. Wait a second.
Wow.
Say something.
Technology is not my friend.
Hey, Millie. Yeah, we can hear her fine.
You can hear Millie now?
I can.
Okay.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh my God. Thank God. So stressful. Okay. Do you want me to just hang out till you guys have something
Well, no,
more to talk?
just stay on your computers. You can watch us and stay on your phone so we can hear you. And we'll just do it this way.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We're just trying to wrap up this article about Blake Street.
Got it. Yep.
So I don't know, just waiting to see if there's any other comment or reaction. I think we had a couple of other comments people want to make about, Jonathan's position here, that maybe we should get off Blake Street altogether. Judy, did you have a comment about that? Or Jen did or something?
I do. Jen and Jean.
Hey, Jean.
Me first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was just going to say, Jonathan, that I took kind of a different impression from town meeting, which was that they rejected the funding in the current fiscal year, but they didn't reject the concept. I thought there was actually a lot of express support for the idea of moving forward with improving Blake Street. We just had too many competing, cost in the fiscal year in which that money was sought. So I don't think it's really like the town has defeated the concept of using our resources toward that end.
I agree with that take.
I do too.
Would we just keep bringing it back every year?
Well, maybe for CPC, that wasn't what was sought last year.
Okay. Yeah, I just I thought it was unusual what the chair did on Blake Street as well to try to get the funding. So it just seems inconsistent with the charter. So I seen that as very unusual, a little bit uncomfortable in terms of how much of a leadership position this committee is taking. When I read the charter, seems like we see the ball, we're picking it up, we're running with it, and I admire many aspects of that. But I also worry about misalignment, and so I just find it unusual.
So I think it's interesting that you talk about misalignment, Jonathan, because I thought coming onto the committee.
Jen, you're hardly audible. Maybe you could speak up a little more.
Do I have to yell a little? Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So when I joined the committee, because I'm a newer member, I just assumed that this would be more of a strategic plan, like across the board using finances and taking into account schools and kind of master plan. How do we map out the next 5 years goals? That's what I thought coming in. And, obviously one school needs to be done, there's a someone has the master plan of all the big picture. And so I assumed when I came on board, that's what this group was. But then once I went into Lori's office and found all the old master plans and read through them, that's not quite the case. So, but they have said in every master plan, our downtown, this and that, the traffic pattern, it's all the same things now that it was 20 years ago. So I think if I'm not to speak for everyone, but I think just wanting to see something happen, anything happen towards that end, towards fixing downtown. So we can't change the traffic. We can't change, streets, parking and no parking, you know what I mean? But we can try to at least fix a town-owned property. So I think that was kind of our direction. It's just well, what can we do? We're just spinning our wheels another 20 years of we need to fix downtown. So that's a nutshell.
I'd like to see downtown fixed as well. I'm agreeing. I just just seems consistent with the charter. So, but I'm totally. I want to see downtown, and I want to see Fort West Main Once we're done with White Cliffs and once we're done with our Sangamon priorities, my next priority in the select board is for West Main. So those are the things I came in when my goals and for West Main is on my top 3 goals, and 2 of them are well in process. I want to see investment in downtown. I just want to be thoughtful and transparent and authentic about it.
Right. I think too, like watching the building go from fully stocked of stuff to a dentist, like it, you know what I mean? It's like watching it disintegrate in front
It's
of our
sad.
eyes over the last 10 years.
Yep.
So the people who were on boards and committees chose differently. So I
Yeah.
think we just wanted to kind of push a little bit to get something done.
This is helpful for me. I am still going to go back to the charter. Like just, I mean, I joined it and I joined it with the charter. So, and I'm happy to be part of this. I want to be part of the solution, but I also don't want to just be a committee to mix stuff up and choose what they want to do. So balancing that.
Yeah, I guess one thing we can discuss is, or you can bring back to the select board is if in fact there's some misalignment with what we're doing and what our charter is. And if there is, as the residents of town expressed an interest in improving the downtown over time, who's going to take responsibility for that? The fact of the matter was that in this particular instance, there didn't seem to be any particular part of the town that was willing to take responsibility. So we took responsibility to get a downtown master plan created. And after presenting that to select board, it was apparent that no one was stepping up to take responsibility to do anything about what was recommended in that. So we've just continued to move forward here. But to the extent we can organize in town a way to continue to move forward on this, we can step back and just report that these downtown revitalization tasks these people are responsible for it. And this is the status they've given us. This is where we stand on it. So there's a lot of ways we can move forward with this.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's smart.
Yeah. So
thank you. I don't want to take up all this time on this, but it's helpful for me to get up to speed. I'm new. I think maybe a few other people are new here, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. The other thing I'll mention is that my plan for this committee going forward in this year is to go back and ask everybody to reread the plan and to consider what else is in there that we haven't talked about that's important, that we should bring forward and advise certain different responsible parties in town that these master plan goals that were defined in 2020 have had little or no activity, and they're important. They should have some activity, and put that ball on someone's plate to do some work on. So I think we need to do a thorough review of the plan. We also have, which I haven't seen it yet, Lori can point you to it. We have a spreadsheet that we developed that lists everything that was in the master plan and what the current status of it is. And if you haven't taken a look at that, that'd be helpful to just go through that and you get a good idea of where kind of everything stands. Some things have happened by their own inertia, and some have happened by us kind of pushing for them to happen, and some haven't happened at all. So I think we need to go back and revisit that also. Okay, anything else on this item? I think it was a good discussion. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Okay, and Lori, Northborough Center street trees.
All right. So as you know, most of you, the select board had allocated $26,000 to the Northborough Center street tree project. So that was ARPA funding that was allocated last year. So we have been soliciting interest in residents or property owners. It's also been sent to business property owners who may be interested in a tree paid for with ARPA funds. And thus far, we have received 19 applications for street trees within the town center. So many of those are located. We have one on South Street, a couple on St. James Drive, Church Street, Whitney Street, Crestwood Drive, Silas Drive, a number on Pleasant Street, one on West Main, one on Rice, Lincoln Street. We've had 3, and Winter Street, we've had 2. So we also have identified some public properties that could benefit from street trees. So one of the exciting things is Trelleborg, which is an international polymer engineering company that's also has an office in Northborough at 10 Forbes Street, Forbes Road. They have expressed interest in doing a community project. So they are interested in planting these street trees for us. So there are about 20 employees that will work on this project in October. Most likely, we haven't selected the date yet, but most likely it'll be the first 2 weeks of October. So the wonderful thing about volunteers means that we will be able to purchase and plant more street trees than we had originally envisioned. So it is likely that during that first planting, we will be doing in excess of 25 trees. And then we are also interested in doing a street tree planting in the spring. So hopefully we will have more volunteers step forward for a spring project. And so we will be able to make somewhat of a difference as to the beautification of the town center. So that was very exciting and super happy to have Trelleborg on board with this project.
Excellent. How did Trelleborg how are they aware of the project in the first place? That you've been working with them or someone in town been working with them?
So they reached out to the select board's office and they had sent out an email to see if there were any projects that volunteers could help with. And I immediately responded because originally we thought that we were going to have to hire a landscaping company to plant the trees. And it is incredibly expensive to have a professional landscaper do that. So with having to rely on professionals to do the planting would have enabled us to only plant about 35 to 30 trees. But because of Trelleborg's interest in doing a volunteer project, we're probably going to be able to double the impact and plant significantly more trees than we were otherwise able to do. And so the size of the trees that we're going to plant are in the 1.5 to 2 inch caliber category. And the reason for that size is that the volunteers are going to hand shovel. So they're going to hand dig all of the holes for these trees and they're going to plant them themselves. Whereas if we had a professional, they were going to use mechanical equipment. So we would have been able to go with a slightly larger size tree, but much fewer trees, many fewer trees.
How big do the trees get?
It depends on the species. So we've offered 2 options. So there are like 9 different species of trees that people could choose from. So we have some small flowering tree options, and then we have some large shade tree options. But they really do vary depending upon the species. And the folks were sent out a form and they were given the ability to choose their top 3 options. And they were also able to identify where on their property they would like the tree to be, but it had to be within the front yard setback. So not within the municipal right of way on their property, but within the front yard setback. Jean? Oh, you're on mute.
Hi. My question is, will there be oversight with volunteers doing this work? Are they going to have is there just someone advising, dig safe and also the maintenance plan for the trees once planted, keeping them alive for the first 2 years? with watering
Yes.
and mulching?
So what we're gonna do is, so we're sending DigSafe out first to identify where the utilities are. And then the tree warden and I, so the tree warden is the DPW director, Scott Charpentier. So he and I will visit each of the sites and we will meet with the homeowners and we will discuss exactly where, after the DigSafe has been drawn out, where they would like to have the tree. And then we will stake those locations. So the DPW will pick up the trees and deliver them to the site, as well as various materials like we will have guy wires, we will have watering bags, we will have tarps so that the volunteers can dig the area, put the soil on the tarp, plant the tree, and then put the soil back in. We will also be delivering mulch to all of the various sites. And then we are asking the volunteers to bring shovels and scissors to open up the burlap bags and to cut the I'm ordering the guy wires. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to order wires or whether I'm going to order string, but whatever. They will be asked to bring scissors or wire cutters if they're available. And so we will be providing them with the instructions. So the volunteers will work in teams of 2. And so they will be provided with some instruction. However, they will be working independently, and then staff will just kind of be popping into the various sites to make sure that everything's okay. And the homeowners will be asked to provide hoses so that the volunteers can water the trees, water the root ball, and then water the trees after they've been planted.
Other comments, questions? I'm glad this is moving forward. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I think Jean's point is, I think that the plans to get these things in the ground successfully to begin with is a good plan. And hopefully the homeowners will, take good care of their trees going forward, kind of thing. All right. Next item on the agenda. Millie, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay, good. So you're probably aware that Millie, independent of this committee and as her own real estate developer, has a project now to develop a mixed-use project, a combination of Main Street and Church Street, where the old R&T furniture store was and where the old fire station was on Church Street, and a budding home to that kind of thing. And Lori and I thought it'd be good if Millie could, with all the time we spent talking about the downtown, just give this committee a brief update as a courtesy as to what she's doing down there, with the understanding that, as we've talked about earlier tonight, this committee is not an approval authority. We're not a design review committee. We're not the planning board. We're not the ZBA, all of those different organizations. Millie will make proposals to and get the necessary permitting to do the project. This is basically just an informational session for Millie. Just give us a little update on what she's doing so we have a better idea about it. But once again, the point of this is not to be asking for our comments or changes or approval, mainly just to get some information from Millie that we can go forward on and, have a discussion about it, kind of thing. So with that background, Millie, why don't you give us an update? We really appreciate you talking about this with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm actually super excited about this project. But I will start by saying I have never done anything of this scale in my life, so it's a learning process. But one of my biggest complaints or concerns with our downtown is that we don't have a downtown. So my feeling was, let's try to do something and put a stake in the ground here. my overall desire is to tie in with what the community and what the residents have been looking for, which is a downtown, and to tie in with the master plan. Thank you, Lori. I was going to say, you can also see this. There was a design review meeting on July 31st that really does go over quite a bit of the details that we've done so far. So if anybody's interested in that and finding out more about what we've got going on and where we are, if they have questions, that's a good place to start. I just wanted to basically say that what I'm hoping to put forth is a combination of buildings, 3 at this time we have in the plans, that will be mixed use and residential, because those were the things that I think we felt were the most lacking in our downtown. And those are some of the design elements that Lori's bringing up. So I appreciate that. We'd like to take advantage of the Cold Harbor Brook, some of the natural assets in our town that I think are underutilized. We're hoping to bring in some of the features architecturally and historically that are, I think, remarkable in our town. So we're really working to, I think, make this a very cohesive piece in our downtown. Ideally, we're going to put in some housing with, I believe we have now 9 living units, and one of them will be affordable. So we're really going to check that off no matter what. 8 of them will be fully accessible. So that's something that I think we would like to bring into our town as well. I guess we have a timeline that we need to meet that was based on me acquiring the property, the old fire station, and we're doing well with that. We're a year into our project. We're still working through permitting. We've done a lot of cleanup on the property, and this is our first. What you're seeing here is our first, I would say, public viewing of what we have in mind. Anything else? Let's see. We'd like to incorporate a lot of walkability. We have our town common right across from us. And ideally, if we can get things going in our downtown, maybe that Lake Street area, this would add, I think, a nice piece of connectivity to that. We're looking to add sidewalks. We're looking to add, again, maybe possibly some crosswalks, depending on where our walkability comes in. Anything else we're looking for? The type of businesses we're going to be looking for are, I think, the unusual ones or maybe unique businesses, not really looking to recreate some of the things we already have in our town. I think that that's something that we would benefit from, is having more variety of different types of businesses. I think that's it in a nutshell. We're, like I said, just going through the permitting process. I expect that to take another 8 months to possibly up to a year. Probably won't have anything starting on building for the earliest about a year, maybe a build out of about 18 months. And we're hoping to have something completed by summer of 2028.
Ooh, thank you, Millie. Any questions or any more information that anybody would like Millie to provide tonight?
Thank you, Millie.
Millie, can I ask a question? I'm wondering about sidewalk accessibility. It looks like to the west of the building on West Main Street that will be built would that be a public sidewalk kind of behind this property that would connect to the Cold Harbor Brook?
Yeah.
Just because Millie is quiet, I'm just going to clarify because Millie's team already made a presentation to the design review committee. So it's my understanding, and Millie can correct me if I'm wrong, that this red area that I'm showing with my arrow is a proposed paver walkway. And this area right here is currently asphalt. There is a sewer pump station right here. So what they're proposing to do is to take up the asphalt and create like a decorative paver a driveway here. And it would go all the way around wherever you see the red areas. Millie, is that accurate?
Yes, it may not be the same material all the way around because I think that could be a lot. But also to explain that that red driveway area that is closest to Cold Harbor Brook is an easement to the pump house. So that is something that we have to keep open and keep paved.
Millie, would it be publicly accessible, all of that walkway?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. That's so nice.
And
Yeah.
it's, I don't think I have it on this set of drawings, but she's proposing a significant, no, I don't have it. She's proposing a significant amount of landscaping throughout the site. And also there will be some walls that will kind of, so as you know, she's kind of sandwiched between a gas station and a car repair facility. So what she's interested in doing is using walls and landscaping to kind of break up the views of those facilities to kind of make it as attractive as she possibly can. And she has become the recipient of a lot of the stone farming walls from the fire station property. And she's planning on using those stones in various locations throughout the site. And this building right here would be a 3-story building. I believe it's going to be first story retail, as well as hopefully a restaurant space. And then the upper 2 stories will be a combination of multifamily and like a restaurant patio. And then the building that will front on West Main Street will be first floor, either retail or office space. And then second story will be an apartment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
This is really-
excited because it looks like you left some room for Porch Fest musicians and some ways for us to do some cool exterior artsy stuff. So I'm excited. It looks good. Thanks, Millie. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
And Millie and I were talking about the fact that, you know, what we're trying to do is get something going downtown where people can actually see something happening that sort of implements what the vision is. And this is going to be a way to do that. You know, our hope was that if and when we can get funding for Blake Street, or if some of these grants come through and people can start to see some things happening on Blake Street, and then, you know, some private investment happens over there, that this all comes together. I think we've talked quite a bit about our real opportunity is north of Route 20. You know, we know that Route 20 itself can't be narrowed, that's going to be an issue going forward, what we do with that until something happens in the long term. But in the short term, this Church Street north of Route 20 to Pierce Street past the existing fire station, down Blake Street and over to Hudson, that whole area north of Route 20 has got potential over time to turn into more of what I think people would like to envision downtown. And obviously, our hope by getting some things going on Blake Street was to beautify it somewhat and to encourage private investment. What Millie's doing here is separate from that, but once again, you know, this isn't going to be too far from Blake, and it's not going to be too far from the existing fire station today, which has a lot of potential for redevelopment at some point. So hopefully this would all tie together into a nice redeveloped area of town over time north of Route 20. And this is going to be a great first step.
Thank you. That's the plan.
Yep. All right. Thanks very much, Millie, for presenting this tonight. We really appreciate it. And good luck. Obviously, there'll be a lot of public hearings and meetings about this. So if you have more interest and you want to stay more involved, just plan to attend or watch any of the public meetings and hearings that'll be held about this project over time, and hopefully go forward. And if there's anything the MPIC can do to support your case there, Millie, you know, we'd be willing to be supportive.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda has to do with this Lyman Street property that's going up for auction by the state. And Lori can give us an update about that. Go ahead, Lori.
Sure. So we received notice from DCAM a couple of months ago that they were interested in auctioning off a parcel of land in the town of Northborough. So this is an approximately 5-acre parcel of land that is located on Lyman Street. The address is 0 Lyman Street. So as you can see, that it is currently a meadow, and it is located in between Podman Way and Lyman Street. So it is fairly easy to develop. There are no wetlands on the property. It does have some slopes. The low point is on Lyman Street. The high point is on Codman Way. And it does directly abut, you can see this area under construction, a large 55 and over development that is located in the town of Westboro. So because this is state land, they can pretty much dictate the development conditions. And what they have told the town of Northborough is that they want it to be developed for housing, and they want it to be at a density of at least 4 units per acre. So this parcel is currently zoned for residential C, which has minimum lot sizes of 20,000 square feet. So 4 units per acre is doubling the density that is currently allowed. So this was discussed with the planning board and the select board, and certainly John can comment on the select board letter. The planning board decided to submit a letter to DCOM with their recommendations, which essentially said that they prefer a maximum density of 4 units per acre because this parcel has neither access to public water or public sewer. So they'll be relying on wells and septic systems unless they can obtain public services from the town of Westboro, which remains to be seen. I don't know if Westboro would be willing to grant access to public infrastructure to the development in the town of Northborough. So we also discussed, and by we, I mean the planning board, discussed what type of housing they would ideally like to see. And Judy actually attended our planning board meeting, and she said that what's most in demand in Northborough is the family housing. So less expensive family housing. And also housing for empty nesters. So that is what we submitted to the state as our preference. So Judy, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or certainly John, you're welcome. Jonathan, do you prefer John or Jonathan?
Oh, John's fine. Yeah.
John.
Um,
Can I add something, Judy?
just real briefly, Lori, I didn't verbatim say family housing. I was saying, kind of for Northborough, kind of a very popular price point, but there's not enough inventory, is entry level, which some of us that have been in town for a long time will, it's shocking to hear that entry level is like 500 and 600. So the sweet spot was kind of, right around 500-600, possibly up to $700,000 houses, which really doesn't give you a lot today. But that allows people to enter into our town. First, a lot of first-time home buyers, but it also allows some long-term property owners that have raised their families here. They're looking to downsize without sacrifice, so they can sell what for some will be a move-up home. And in Northborough, that's 900 and up right now. So that those homeowners can cash into their equity and keep a little money and downsize to something really nice. So didn't necessarily have to be a family, because it could be like an empty nester that just needed something affordable to downsize to. So just a point of clarification, but I did appreciate the opportunity to have some input on that.
Yeah, and the select board is consistent with what you described, Lori. I think it's a really neat area if you haven't seen it. Like, it's right next to Old Chauncey. It's got hiking. It's got all these really nice amenities near it. Del Webb abuts it, so if Del Webb were to expand, that would be not terrible for Northborough in terms of a use for it. But the call it 20, a community of 20 homes, it could fit well in there. And then Westboro has a similar parcel that they're going to have to contemplate. But we're unclear on what this process is going to look like in September with the state, and so it is interesting because there's not a lot of infrastructure there, and cognizant of any sort of town services this could require. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Oh, and I did also want to point out that you may recall that the town adopted a new inclusionary housing bylaw at the April town meeting this past April. And what that means is that 15% of the total number of units will have to be affordable, permanently affordable to low and moderate income folks. So that was part of the letter that the planning board submitted to the state, requesting that they abide by our inclusionary zoning bylaw. So we would really like to see some of those units be affordable. And that bylaw does provide some flexibility with the type of units. So of course, in the RC district, you can do duplexes, you can do single family. That's pretty much it. Whereas the inclusionary zoning bylaw would also allow townhouses. So 20% of the total number of units could be one of those options, townhouses. Any questions?
We're just going to have to see how this plays out. Interestingly enough, in certain towns, this all ties back to the state's desire to create more housing in the state of Massachusetts. And so through the governor's office, basically the word went out, let's look at all the state land we have and how can we get as much housing on it as fast as we can. DCAM is the state organization responsible for managing the state's resources and inventory. So they took the responsibility for figuring out how to dispose of this land. It's interesting, in some towns, they're writing an RFP, they're putting out an RFP and asking for responses. In other towns, they're just doing a straight auction. Highest bidder gets the property. So for whatever reason in Northborough, they decided to do this as an auction. And so it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, they put into the any requirements that the successful auction bidder has to conform to, other than, it says a minimum of 4 acres per lot, which means to me there could be more than 4 acres. I mean, 4 units per acre. But that doesn't mean that the successful bidder made it decide to put more than 4 units per acre on this property. And it's still unclear as to what ability the town has to work with the developer on that. But the regulation says that the town does have the ability to do limited site plan review. So there'll be some site plan review done, but it's not clear to what extent our zoning would take hold in any of this. We'll just have to see. The reason I asked Lori to bring this up tonight is because there's a fairly large section in the master plan around housing and around affordable housing. And so I think it was important for this committee to get an understanding of what's going on here and how it affects some of the housing goals in the master plan. And eventually, our 10%, affordability number we're trying to stay above, so we're not subject to 40B developments. So the number of units built here hopefully will conform to our inclusionary zoning. So this won't put us any further behind on our Chapter 40B maintenance plans kind of thing. So hopefully at least there will be at least, I think inclusionary zoning asks for 15% affordable, right, Lauren?
Yes,
Bylaw?
15%.
Right. So even if a lot of units go up here, 15% of them are affordable, it's at least helpful as far as maintaining our 40B status. Once again, we'll just have to see.
Laurie,
Yeah.
I have a question. There's a lot of green space to the left and right of this DCAM property. Do you know who owns those open fields?
So on the right-hand side, that's also owned by DCAM. So they have not expressed interest currently in selling off that land. But who knows? They may change their minds in the future.
This location is actually a fairly rural part of the town. Yet it's adjacent to a high development over 55. It may be a reasonable location for, let's call it a friendly 40B, where the town identifies a mix of housing that would work there, including the subsidized component, and convey that to DCAM so that any prospective purchaser would have some understanding of the actual development density that the town may allow. It would seem to me that even though it's state-owned land, once it's sold, it's privately owned land, and wouldn't it have to conform to zoning?
So what we've discussed, so we actually had a couple of meetings with DCAM to really kind of get some answers to questions that we had. And it's our understanding that they will be auctioning off with a deed restriction that specifies the minimum density that they find acceptable. So they are planning on putting 4 units per acre in the deed restriction last we discussed.
I think what bad looks like is a Del Webb that is not 55 plus, but is just a lot of units in the town that have a lot of consequence on us.
Yeah, the major limiting factor is the fact that we have no utilities in the area. So in order to handle a real mass of housing, they would have to put in a packaged sewer treatment plant, which is very expensive. Not impossible, but that certainly is a limit to the density. So if Del Webb were to purchase it, then they may be able to just extend the public utilities through their development to the site. And in that case, they'd be able to achieve a much greater density than if it were some other buyer.
To your point, Gene, a number of years ago, because this is all Westboro, state hospital land at some point, Westboro and Northboro were each given the opportunity to purchase this land. Westboro decided to take that opportunity, purchase the land, and then they were able at that point to develop it how they saw fit. Northboro chose at the time to not take the option to buy the land. And when that happened, it's just kind of sat as state land, and now the state's decided they've made their own decision about how they want to use it. So we did have an opportunity a number of years ago to take control of this property. And then I think what you suggested would have been possible, but at this point, because the town does not own the land, it'll conform to whatever, as Lori says, the deed restrictions are that they put on the piece of property, which will minimize our ability to control the development, except for some reasonable site plan review or limited site plan review. Maybe, oh, go ahead, Jen. Go ahead,
What
Jen.
they did, like downtown Marlboro, when they knocked down one house and put up this massive, apartment complex thing. Like they're not going to be able to do that here, right? Or a big, massive condo complex. When you were saying the restrictions, you said a minimum, but there wasn't a max on that, right? So if somebody had a whole lot of money and said, we want to throw, I don't know, what is this, 22 units, say they want to do a 44, and they know how to smush them in or whatever it means. So there's no max. So this could turn into like downtown Marlboro ugly, potentially.
Really, without the utilities, that's not possible. Unless Del Webb were to purchase it and extend the utilities like I discussed previously. Yeah, you can't get that level of density on wells and septic systems.
And Del Webb, you may not look like it, but Del Webb is 750 units. They've got 11 buildings.
Right.
And so you go by Chauncey, like I worry about you that like those economics might work. if you go and you could build a couple hundred units, then maybe that sewer plant does work because you can sell them for X. And
Right.
so I don't know. I'm watching this one closely, and I'm very hopeful that it's the uses that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, because like Judy said, maybe they're entry level at $500,000, but you give it 6 months and that number goes up $100,000, and another 6 months and slow building, and that goes up another 100,000-200,000. So I mean, it's the potential. These could turn into very expensive, not so affordable. Like
That's
those
one part of
condos on
it.
the hill, you know what I mean? They're not cheap anymore. So I don't know.
The bigger issue is how many units are going to get built.
Yeah,
Right, so
There's a potential there for a lot more than 20.
Yeah, that's the watch out. I think that's what we're all kind of watching for is how many. What does that look like?
Yeah. How big could it really get?
Yeah. And so, but luckily, it would take an investment to get that to work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe the auction is going to be held in September. We're going to meet again in October. So maybe Lori can give us an update as to what we've learned post-auction as to who won the bid and what they're proposing to do if we know it in October.
I would love to know.
I have been contacted by a couple of developers inquiring about what can be done there. So there definitely is interest.
Sure.
Anything else on this topic tonight? Okay, that concludes everything on the official agenda. Any other items that people want to bring up tonight before we review the minutes? Hearing none, Lori did distribute the minutes from the past meeting. I think you did, right, Lori?
I did.
Right. Are there any comments or changes to the minutes from the prior meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, I'll run through my little cheat sheet here. I guess, John, you can either vote yes or abstain, given the fact you weren't here for that meeting.
Abstain. Thank you.
Okay. Millie? You still on my phone, Millie? Hello, Millie? No, we'll skip over Leslie.
Aye.
Okay. Gene Kennedy,
Aye.
Gene Cahill,
Aye.
Rick Leaf votes aye. Jen Tolman
Aye.
and Judy.
Aye.
The minutes of the prior meeting are approved. Our next meeting would be the third Thursday in October. And like I said, one thing I'm going to want to talk about at that meeting is to go back and just sort of revisit the existing master plan, both by reviewing that as well as reviewing the spreadsheet we've been keeping to show the status of items in the plan. And maybe just have a general discussion about what areas of the plan have we not spent much time thinking about that we should, and what do we want to try and move forward and advise to other organizations, boards, committees, or commissions in town that they should take action on certain things in the plan that we have not taken action on yet. So if you get a chance in the next couple of months, Lori can provide you the links to where things are. Do we have any printed copies of the plan, or is everything online at this point, Lori?
I do have a couple of printed copies. If somebody could let me know in advance if they want a printed copy. So I'll be prepared. I won't be giving you my final copy.
Right. So we'll probably do some updates on, where things stand on some of the things we talked about tonight. But let's plan to have an agenda item to just talk about the master plan in general, the review of it, how we want to go about that, and if people's seen other items in the master plan that we have not brought forward to the town to take action on, that we should start thinking about doing that. We can start working towards that also.
I'm traveling most of October, so I will miss that meeting.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, Leslie, if you do get a chance to take a look at the plan and there's some things you think are important to you, you could communicate that to Lori and she could bring that forward to the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. In the interest of time, can we just all kind of say aye and be done with it at this point?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. We'll see you
Aye,
again
aye,
in
Captain.
October.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
I know-
Night all.
Good night. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with doing it this way.